would be in favor of bringing them in here. However, having said that, there's lots of issues that need to be worked through. Breweries use lots of water. Where's the water going to come from? So placement of their property, it's going to be very difficult because it's going to take a lot of groundwater from people unless it's piped in. There's lots of other issues as far as odor and air issues that need to be looked at. So as Mr. Muri said, that was in the details. I'd want to see what their plan is before I would make any final decision.
Mr. Doyle.
As the three gentlemen have said earlier, obviously, I wouldn't feel comfortable giving an answer there, but I am in favor of seeking out any business that can come to Rehoboth that would fall within our guidelines and meet the needs of the town to go to. So I'm not opposed to listening to anybody. Will we agree with everyone? No, but I'm sure there's a lot of businesses out there, such as, you know, on the surface that looks good, that would meet the needs of the town of Rehoboth. And any decision that we do would obviously be based on the needs of the best interest of the town of Rehoboth.
Thank you. Mr. Muri, the question will be going to you. As you mentioned, devil's in the details, and I like to say evolution takes time. So when the Dunkin' Donuts project was proposed, it appeared that there were roadblocks by various boards. Now it is up and running, providing jobs for our family members, and it's giving back to the town, with most board members drinking the coffee at their meetings. Would you support another franchise restraint in town? Oh, excuse me, restaurant.
I would not oppose any restaurant outright. I mean, again, I'm just going to get back to, you know, what we just said, the devil is in the details. And as to your original question as to the Dunkin' Donuts, I'd say which one, because now we currently have 2 Dunkin' Donuts, or shortly will have 2 Dunkin' Donuts in town. But no, I don't oppose any business as a point of opposing business as such. We look at each individual project and look at how it's going to impact on the town, and most importantly, how it conforms or doesn't conform to both Mass General Law and local bylaw requirements. And that's how we rule. I'm generally pro-business. However, you know, obviously businesses have to conform to rules and regulations. And as a board member, that's the way I vote.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Cooper.
Well, I wasn't here when the first Dunkin' Donuts was put in, but we did, as Jim alluded to, just do a site plan approval for it, a Dunkin' Donuts moving in. So I'd say we are pro-business. You know, so long as everything complies to the bylaws. So I wouldn't, you know, I can't imagine there being a reason where I'd ever just make a blanket statement of I'm against, you know, franchises coming into Rehoboth. You know, if they come in and apply, we'd have a conversation about, you know, what they're going to do and what we'd like to see them do and move forward. I think the board's here to try to help business and work with business as opposed to being, you know, a sheriff or a bad guy that wants to, you know, just keep people out for the sake of keeping them out.
Thank you. Mr. Doyle.
Obviously, I was not on the board at that time to go through, but I think that's a perfect example of a business that does give back to its community and hires their community people. I can't think of another local business in town that is more actively involved in giving back to the community with donations and fundraisers and things that they do. So to me, that's a perfect example of and those that were probably opposed to it are probably some of the biggest customers that they have right now to go to. So if they meet the guidelines and they fall within the rules and the regulations, and we do, it's a great example of expanding and allowing businesses to come in town and support our town and grow our town.
Thank you, Mr. Ennis.
Excuse me, I'd have to agree with the rest of the board here. I would welcome them in, come in, apply, submit their paperwork, and take a look at it at face value, see what they want to do, make sure that the aesthetics meet what the town is looking for. And if we can assist them, I'm more than willing to let them, let a franchise come in, as well as a non-franchise restaurant.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson?
Okay. I think I messed up the order, but I don't think it's really that important. This question is for Mr. Cooper. Do you think Route 44 looked better in 1973 or now? And do you actually remember what it looked like?
This is an easy one. I was born in 1977. And I've been a resident here for 3.5 years, or thereabouts. So I really can't weigh in on this one at all. So that's short and sweet.
Same question would be posed to you, Mr. Muri. Do you think Route 44 looked better in 1973 or in its current state? And do you remember what it looked like?
I can only go by photographical evidence that I've seen. I was basically about 8 years old at the time and living in a different portion of the state. So I do not recall what it looked like. I have seen some older photographs. As far as what it looked like and what it looks like now, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. It's probably not exactly what I had envisioned when I joined the board. It's not the sort of thing that we were, I and other board members I think were looking forward to. On the other hand, we all recognize that it's along a major highway, an interstate highway, and there are certain needs associated with that roadway that don't correspond, for instance, to the center of town, Route 118 or Route 44. If I could set the Wayback Machine and change things, I'd probably ask for some changes on that roadway.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Ennis, can you repeat the question?
You can repeat the question, doesn't matter, because I wasn't here back in 1973.
Okay.
I've lived here 5 years, so I have really I can go back 5 years and I don't see that much of a change in the past 5 years. But since then, I can't say.
Okay. How about you, Mr. Doyle?
Well, I also did not live in town at that time, but I do remember, and I can't remember the exact year, I was a kid, and we bought our first horse on Route 44. So I remember driving down Route 44 to go. I wasn't looking at much, but because I was excited to buy the horse. I think in my 18 years in town, obviously there's room for opportunity, but I think the growth that we've seen and to strengthen the town and put our town in a position to attract business and attract local revenues in the town, I think it's better than what I remember it to be before, and better than what it was 18 years ago when I moved into town.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have time for one more question. I'm going to actually start again with Mr. Ennis. And by the way, I remember 1973, Summer Street was a dirt road, so I've been a town resident all my life. What would you like to see happen with business growth in town? Do you have a vision of what it should look like?
I'm all for the growth of business. I've lived in numerous different states in the country, been throughout many different places in the world. Many states, such as I've lived in Annapolis and Charleston, South Carolina, which have very strict zoning regulations. And I've seen huge, I don't want to say huge stores, but large restaurants and things like that move into these places, and they design the restaurants to look like the city, to keep that quaint look. And I think that business here can do the same thing. We can invite business in here. They can design their buildings, their businesses, to look the way that Rehoboth wants them to look, so that we can keep that rural characteristic, keep that rural aesthetic, and continue growing and have a nice tax base to help future growth.
Thank you, Mr. Ennis. Mr. Doyle.
I agree. If I was to, my vision would be, we need to have that growth. We can have that growth within the bylaws and the regulations of the town and to go. But obviously, that is an area that the town needs to grow in. And I think it can be done in a controlled, and I don't mean controlled as putting a thumb on it like the previous Dunkin' Donuts before. I think in doing it the right way and meeting the regulations that we have and conform to that rural look of the town.
Mr. Muri.
A number of years ago, I was on a board that helped craft the Village Center bylaw. Unfortunately, it didn't pass. But what it did was it spelled out a set of rules and regulations that would have allowed for denser business, but at the same time would have held certain architectural standards that would have accomplished both goals. So my vision is to see successful, lucrative businesses that are prospering while also integrating nicely into the community and looking like a part of a beautiful Rehoboth that I think we all sort of have a vision of.
Thank you, Mr. Muri. Mr. Cooper?
Yeah, I think, as I've said, previously while I've been up here, nobody on the board that I've met so far seems to be against business, stopping growth or anything like that, in my brief time on it. So, my vision for it is that, business is essential to a healthy town. So I'd like to see business grow. And of course, we'd like to do it in a way that's as aesthetically pleasing as possible. Whether that happens or not, really comes out of our conversations with the businesses that are planning on opening. So it's a back and forth, and I think if we work together, everything will turn out well.
Thank you, candidates. Now we have the closing comments. Could we start with Mr. Ennis?
I want to thank the RBA for letting us come here, and I'm just looking to help serve the community to grow and keep Rehoboth. And I hope everyone gets a chance to get out there and vote, and I hope, since again we're all unopposed here, that we all remain on our board.
Mr. Cooper? Thank you.
Briefly, just thank the RBA again for putting together this great event. It's really valuable for everybody that gets to watch it on YouTube or anything else to hear what people actually think that they're about to vote for. The last, whatever it's been, 6-8 months that I've been on the board have been great for me. I've learned a lot, and I look forward to continuing to learn, continuing to work with people, and continuing to uphold my end of the bargain, which is to be an active member that's well-researched and prepared for meetings. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Cooper. Mr. Doyle?
Again, thank you to the RBA for allowing us to come. Again, back with my professional career, I think being on the other side of the table and being in front of boards throughout different towns to go through will bring a fresh perspective to the position. I would echo, as everyone has said before, we are unopposed, but it is very important that everybody gets out and votes, and their vote counts. So don't take it lightly, and please do your duty and go out and vote.
Thank you. Mr. Muri?
First of all, thanks to the RBA and the folks who attended tonight for giving us this opportunity to talk about these things. Thank you also for the board members who have volunteered over the years. And the last thing I'd like to say is, I'm not kidding about what I said earlier. I'd like to meet with members of the RBA and we can talk about changing some of the zoning restrictions, the 300-foot setback, and doing it in a way that everybody can live with the outcome and enjoy the outcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I believe you'll see some of our representation tomorrow night.
Very
So,
good.
Thank you all again. Thank you, candidates. Great job.